Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 154 of CADS. Yes, we've been going that long. I had a look earlier on the old analytics today. 10 years. We've been doing this for 10 years. Admittedly, there was maybe one a year for a while, so we can't be counting too many too often. But we're here, and we're going to be talking about our new manager, Mr. Thomas Frank. I've got Austin, I've got David, I've got and we've got a special guest, Graeme from Tottenham Home and Away. He's got his own podcast and he will be telling us a little bit about that somewhere along the way. But let's talk about Mr. Frank, previously of Brentford. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, look at a new dawn. I'm always hopeful. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he can give us I don't want to say a fresh start. Let's say I'm hoping that he can build on what we have. Something big has changed. We've broken a hoodoo, and
Yeah, the monkey is off
impressed
our
with
back.
Brentford. Yeah, I've been impressed with Brentford and their ability to change it up, adapt, and I think a lot of us have been crying out for that. And so I think more than anything, I just want to back this guy and see where that takes us and try and enjoy supporting Spurs. And hopefully, this is more Pochettino than Mourinho
Oh
for
no,
God's sake,
no,
or something like that. You know,
he's
just gotta
definitely not a
hope it.
Mourinho.
Wait, are we allowed to use the M word on this?
No, not that one, but
No. Are we
Mourinho
allowed
we
to use the
can.
C word? I mean, Conte.
Conte.
Same thing. Um, yeah, look, what I'm saying is like Pochettino came in from Southampton and another smaller club for on the back of a reputation of doing really well with younger players
Yeah.
and improving them. And I'm hoping that he brings the same thing. He has a similar sort of reputation, and let's hope for similar results, but maybe that 5% extra that we needed under Poch to get it over the line, and that would be amazing. So all in all, I think it's a sensible appointment, and I just want to really support the guy because I think he's going to need all the help he can get, and we should try and do that as supporters.
Yeah. I think I said earlier this week on social media, we seem to have broken the not a bastard, bastard, not a bastard, bastard process that we had, because we went from Pochettino, who was a lovely guy, to Mourinho, who wasn't, and then to Nuno, seems a very nice fella, to the C word, who also wasn't, and then we had Ange, who I thoroughly liked, and now Thomas Frank. I've been watching a fair few videos of. I mean, he has been all over the media in the last couple of years. So obviously he's been building things up, but there's a lot of stuff on there about him on YouTube, including a very good interview he did with Gary Lineker, and he comes across as a thoroughly nice fella. But those are my thoughts. Graeme, what do you think?
So I think we've gone from a kind of emotional state which have all come off the back of the final.
I'm still kind of in the emotional state, I'll be honest. But
but I think that we're becoming a bit more pragmatic and a bit more forward-looking. And actually, of all the people that we were linked with, I think he was probably my preferred option. I think it is a change because he's far more technically adaptable. So he has a tendency to change the team depending on who they're playing against, which is something that we haven't had obviously for the last couple of years, because Ange was apart from in Europe, which was obviously a very different story. In the league, he was very inflexible with the way he would approach games. So I think maybe we'll see some benefit from that. He also has a set piece expert, which I hope he brings with him, because they've been scoring 12 to 16 goals a season from set pieces, which is something we're also not that familiar with. He's also really strong on man management and nurturing talent. So I think, again, with a very young squad that we've got, I feel like and also, but tight budgets. He's also been. If you look at what he's done with the amount of money and the wages they've been paying, it's nothing short of spectacular, really. So I'm sure that appeals to the board, who aren't known for wanting to break their wage structure for players, and also probably forget how good he is under pressure, because his first 10 matches He didn't win a game. So, and he survived that and then went on to establish, first to get promotion and then to establish Brentford as a solid Premier League team for 4 seasons. And also he had to suffer, if you remember the Ivan Toney case, that must have been quite disruptive to their season, and he still managed to pull out a mid-table finish even on the back of that. So I'm really positive. I think it's a good fit for the squad that we've got. I do think he's got a bit of work to lift them up off the floor, because you've seen all the messages of support for the previous manager. And I feel like there might be a bit of work to be done there. But I think they're all professionals. Eventually they'll see that. I think the proof will be in the doing, right? So, well, what we wouldn't give for a Super Cup win as his first trophy.
Especially for those of us in Paris.
Yeah. If he could win his first 3 games, which are Arsenal, Bayern Munich, and PSG, he might win a few fans, I have to say.
He'd have a statue before the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely. Just put it next to the one of Ange. Okay, so the staff he may be bringing with him, I've got a list here. Klaus Norgard, who is assistant head coach, apparently long-term colleague in his tactical brain. Justin Cochran, assistant manager. He was actually working with our under-15s for about 10 years or something. So he's well known at Tottenham already. Keith Andrews, set piece coach. Apparently he may be coming along. And then apparently there was a set piece coach that haven't got the name. I can't remember his name, but he was recently at Manchester United. He's only just left Man U, and he was in negotiations with Thomas Frank to join Brentford as well, to just try and consolidate that. But he may well also be coming along. So that apparently is one of the things that's held up the actual confirmation. Austin, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm as positive as it possibly could be. I've liked Frank for about 4 or 5 years. I really wanted him the last time out. He looks like a perfect fit for Tottenham. He's got dignity. He's intelligent. He's good with young players. He's used to getting players from unknown sources and bringing them up. He changes his style depending on who he's playing. I think he could be a very, very good manager for us.
I hope so. David, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I've got the new manager bounce.
Already?
Yeah. I've already put together a couple of strong performances and winning matches that I wasn't expecting to win with this new manager. I'm very positive about him because he seems like a decent fella, and I think we had a decent fella before, and I quite like having that sort of thing. When I've seen Brentford, which I'm going to be completely honest, it's not all that often, I've been pretty impressed with the way they're really well organised, and they are capable of putting together a structured attacks, structured way of playing, which I like seeing. So there's a lot of positives. I think, as a couple of people have already said, what he's achieved at Brentford is really quite extraordinary on limited means, and that does make him a good fit. And I'm not being ironic about Danny Levy and it does make him a good fit for us. I am sort of the miserable bastard of the podcast, so I'm going to give my 2 little caveats or doubt points right up ahead, which are, I love us having set piece coaches. I hope I don't see us playing long throw-ins and defending madly, hoping to nick a goal off a corner, like those red people on the other side of London do. So
North London Stoke.
Yeah, I like set piece organisation. I wouldn't like that to become a focus. And then there's always that little doubt with some of these clubs that are incredibly well run. Is the manager the Formula One driver that just happens to have lucked into the Red Bull and not the Sauber? You never know. So, when you think about Porto or Brighton, Lyon, these are incredibly well-run clubs with an amazing backroom. Sometimes you see managers that do well in these clubs and they move on. They don't do so well because, in fact, what they were doing was they were driving the fastest car. Wow. I don't think my thing doesn't work extremely well, but roughly where I'm trying to go with it. But
yeah, absolutely.
I'm running those up there now while we're in the glow of the new manager stuff. But I'm extremely positive about him. I like what I've seen from Brentford, and I'm very impressed with what he's done.
That is a concern of mine, I'll be honest. Over the last 4 seasons, he's had the lowest wage bill in the league at least 2 seasons. And I think the lowest they finished was 13th or something like that. So, I mean, he has managed to get a team punching way above its weight. But my thoughts are there are 2 ways of doing that. One is through great coaching and one is through great recruitment. And Thomas Frank is not responsible at all for Brentford's recruitment. So hopefully it's the great coaching, or it could be a combination of both. If you could get both, then fantastic. But he has talked many, many times about how working at Brentford is like the dream job, because people are in place and there's stability there to bring the right kind of players through, and everything is worked out perfectly for him. At Tottenham, I don't think stability is a word that we can use quite so easily. I don't know. Ash, how are you tonight?
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said. Surprising considering how kind of down we might have felt after the firing, and we've seemed a little bit more upbeat since then. My only caveat is if he starts off slowly, which could be caused by whatever situations, injuries, new guys betting in, Levy not buying the players until the last day of the window. I just hope there's not a repeat of wash, rinse, repeat, which happens every 2 years. That's one thing recently about Levy, is that it is sickening, this wash, rinse, repeat cycle. And I don't look forward to it. If it happens, I want to give Frank the benefit of the doubt. I like him. I like his hair. It's not quite Ginola, but I think he might be worth it. I always like a manager's hair, like Mancini, and I'm looking forward to what he can bring. I did see. I don't know if you guys got to it, but I did see it interesting that Alice Abrahams do a podcast, and she came up with, because we asked this actually on our last podcast, what's your first most important edition? I think most of us agreed that was number 6. Anyway, she came up with 3 must-do editions, and center back number 6, and somebody up front. So anyway, she came up with some good ideas. Hopefully we'll chat about that today. I did think I saw something that maybe they were just speculating that that Frank will actually try to have more of a say in recruitment than perhaps, I don't know, than he did previously at Brentford.
I think he'll probably have a similar amount. As far as I understand, he got to have a little say in what was going, but he didn't really get the final say. But of course, him and but he and Johan Lange are friends. I mean, they have known each other for many years. They worked together in Denmark. They shared an office for a while. So this is not. It's not going to be him being dumped in the deep end with not knowing anybody or anything like that. There's going to be something there, a little bit of familiarity for him. And I don't think working in a situation where you are handed a group of players and told that's what you have to work with, and we will tell you who you've got coming in, is going to be foreign to him, because he's done that his entire career.
Have we discussed what, because I don't know as much perhaps as some of you guys, what his strengths are? Can he work with what we have? Because let's face it, we're probably only going to bring in 2 or 3 players that can make a difference. Anybody have any thoughts on what he's going to bring to the squad as it is, and possibly 2 or 3 additions?
Well, first of all, does anybody have any confidence that we'll bring in 2 or 3 players that would make a difference? That seems like a very high number to me for a Tottenham Hotspur squad and a transfer window.
Well, we did bring in 4 or so last year, but they were all the young players and only Solanke. I'm talking about
only Solanke. Solanke's only one.
I'm talking about
11
players who can actually, veteran players who can actually contribute at this point type thing. That's what
Yeah.
Doesn't
the
part of
bar
that.
is.
I
at.
wonder whether we don't yet know whether Paratici is going to come back, do we? And I think that could make a difference in terms of recruitment. Because I thought he was quite good at getting stuff done and getting stuff done reasonably quickly. He wasn't very good at getting rid of players.
No one's very good at getting rid of players.
Yeah.
There's a point of order. Two of the players that we've bought in the last 2 years, Brennan Johnson and Archie Gray, are players that Thomas Frank actually wanted. And he is noted for bringing young players through and developing them. So with players like Odobert, Matthias Tell, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Wilson Odobert, I think it's quite likely that he'll develop them and get the best out of them.
So I've been looking at his squad and the way he was playing last season. In the majority of games, he seemed to play the double pivot. So that kind of says that we're almost set up. You want to play a double pivot and a 10, and then basically the same kind of 4-3-3 we were playing on the range towards the end. So if we've got Bentancur, Bissouma, and then Maddison playing ahead of them, and then pick 3 to go in front of them, it could be quite interesting. We might have the players that just fit neatly into a system. We don't need to do too much tinkering. We don't need to bring too many players in. And also, he's a little bit more conservative with his fullbacks. They don't both push on at the same time. It's one or the other. And he's also used to kind of having to cover for slower centre-backs, because with the injury problems they had last year, they had to deal with some very slow centre-backs for quite a long period of time. And they just played pacier, faster fullbacks to make sure that that was covered, which kind of tells me that Dragoshin may even get a look in, because pace was never his thing, and maybe he's going to get a look back in. But Graeme, you wanted to say something earlier. What was it?
I was just going to, I think it was Austin already mentioned it, about that he previously tried to sign Archie Gray and Brendan Johnson as well. And we seem to have been sniffing around the same players. And there was another player that I think was going to go to Brentford, someone from Belgium, I think, that we'd been after, and I think he failed a medical. But so there seems to be a lot of similarity, and I wonder if Langer's part of that, in that we're looking for the same kind of players that it looks like he's been trying to attract as well.
I think it was Nusa from Norway.
That's it. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Antonio Nusa, who ripped apart Italy last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That leg seems to have healed up all right.
Yeah, the knee seems to be okay. It was a major point of concern. I mean, he was somebody we talked about on a transfer window special one night, and it was like, is he coming? Is he not coming? And he didn't. So,
so does that mean that, from what you were saying, Stu, that, for example, Porro might struggle under Thomas Frank? You said he likes quite conservative fullbacks. And
he plays more conservatively. He won't have both of them pushing up at the same time. One of them will push up, but not both. Maybe he'll say, right, we'll look to push forward with Pedro Porro and maybe a little bit less Udogie. But certainly I think Porro will need to be more of a fullback than he has been under our last manager. Okay, so obviously the transfer window, the initial transfer window, has now closed. We haven't signed anybody, quelle surprise. But obviously,
Danso. We signed Danso.
Oh right, yeah, but he was organised before.
I'm just kidding.
We didn't finalise
when I saw we were having 2 transfer windows this summer, I thought, oh, brilliant! That means that we can have 2 last-minute signings.
Yeah, I thought much the same. Like, Daniel would be rubbing his hands together and going, "This is fantastic! I love this kind of moment." Yeah. Oh, dearie me. So, what does everybody else think in terms of the setup we've got, the players we've got? Do we think there's anybody who needs to be immediately shipped out, or a specific area that needs to be brought in to fit a Thomas Frank styles player?
Well, will he keep Sonny, and will he name a new captain? I think I'm sure Charlie and I would both agree on that. Will he keep Sonny, and will he name a new captain? It'd be great to name a new captain to sort of resonate with his philosophy. And that's something that would excite me.
Sonny played against, I think it was Kuwait last night. And he was asked after the game, "What's the future for you at Tottenham?" And he was like, "Well, I'm very curious as well because my contract's got a year left, and the new manager coming in. There's stuff that needs to be talked about." He didn't really commit himself either way. He didn't say, "No, I'm gone," but he didn't say, "I will be sticking around and being an integral part of the team next year." From what I understand, he would actually work better in a Thomas Frank system than in an Ange system where he was expected to play wider. Thomas Frank, he'd be expected to get in the box a bit more and also maybe just have a few more pot shots from distance, which we all love to see when he was at his height. Graeme, you look like you wanted to jump in there.
I just say though that from what you said, Stuart, from that interview that Son did, it's the first time that he's been not all in. I felt like there was a reading between the lines that he's not sure about his future, which is probably the first time I've seen that from him.
Yeah, it was a bit of prevarication, wasn't there, that we've never seen from him before. It was like any other time that he's ever been asked that question, it would have been like, "I'm fully poised. I'm like, I'll go down with the ship or whatever." First time I've ever seen him like a little bit wishy-washy on that.
I seem to remember last year when, again, he had a year left on his contract, he was asked a very similar question and he gave, again, a non-committal, very professional answer. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
He's been renewed for an extension, right? So he
Ben
might want to
Davis,
stick
yeah.
with Ben.
Yeah,
but
they do love Ben. Everybody loves Ben. We worked that out last time.
I would say that it's a clean slate for everybody. I don't think we know what good players we have because we've seen a poor version of themselves, and I've been very consistent about this. As much as I love the guy, I thought he was a poor coach. Like, he didn't do coaching. He had other people do coaching, from what we had to learn, and I could see that there were fundamentals that were not being worked on, and I think that has an impact on players and what they look like. So I think under the new manager, as is almost always the case, I think everybody has a shot, and we might be surprised to see who actually turns out to be a really good player for us. Yeah, and I'm excited to see that more than anything else.
Having just said that, just what's your thought on who might actually become a very good player for us, who maybe hasn't been given the opportunity or who might just
I don't think if we're not given the opportunity, actually, I think we haven't seen certain levels that we will see in certain people. I think Bentancur is one.
Okay.
I think we're going to see a better Bentancur, the way Frank plays and sets up his midfield. I think we'll see definitely the back division, because of the level of organization and the work that's been done on set pieces, but just the structured play will make our goalkeeper look better, and I think we'll make our centre backs and wing backs look better. So there, and then lastly, as Stuart has alluded to, I think you'll see a better Sonny, because this system didn't work for Sonny at all. And if he stays, and I hope he does, and I hope he stays captain, because I think there's a lot of change and we need some stability. I don't buy that Sonny isn't a good captain. I think when you see the other players talk about Sonny, that amazing respect and constant at Spurs, I think it's needed in a time of change. I think you'll see a better Sonny. That's my 2 cents.
I'm quite interested to see what he can do with Brennan Johnson, because I think Brennan Johnson, despite all his goals and assists last season, I think he was underutilized in many ways. He was there to be on the end of moves or just create that final pass, but I thought his best games when he was given a chance to actually run into the space, and he was so rarely was he given the ball behind the opposition and given a chance to attack them early. And I think it happened in 2 or 3 games. And I remember talking to David, and I was like, look what happens.
Yeah,
look what happens when he's given the ball early instead of.
It's one of the rare times we actually agreed, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and you didn't call me a dickhead or something like that.
Well,
so
I
yeah,
did, but not,
you did as well.
Not to your face.
Yeah.
So on that point, I think it's coming back to what I was alluding to, and I agree with you. People keep saying that you can't teach somebody how to beat a man, but you could teach him what to do before he has to beat his man, or after he beats his man, or how to mitigate those things. You know, make a different run, try something different. And I agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
but you can also train your players to play the ball into space, or to play the ball ahead of a fast player instead of playing it into his feet or behind him consistently. So he's always facing the wrong way when he gets the ball, and he's always fronted up by the time he's got it under control. So he's never able to just like run onto stuff. And I'm really like fully on board with what you said, I mean, when we did that squad review that lasted, I think it was about a 4-hour podcast, but I think I said that a lot of the players, I'm not sure whether they should be moved on or not, because I would like to see them with a. Actually, I know we're not allowed to talk about the past, but I would like to see them coached. I would like to see, especially the midfield players, so Bissouma, Bentancur, Sarr, especially those three. What would it be like if they were playing in a team with an organised midfield, with an organised press, so they know where their position is when we lose the ball, we know where they're supposed to go to press, and when they're not supposed to go and press. Same with you, Stu. I think Brennan Johnson actually could be a phenomenal player. He's so young.
Played very well for Wales last night or the night before, whenever it was.
Yeah. And you know, what would it be like seeing these sort of properly structured attacking moves? You know, what we do when we get the ball, moving the ball fast, one-time passes into space, people knowing where they have to go. I think that would be a massive difference. I think it'll make it. I think some players are going to really improve. I really agree with that. Yeah. So, but I still, you know, for example, I do wonder whether though Bissouma, you know, he's been here, is it 3 years now? And I don't think we've ever seen a consistently good Bissouma. So even though part of me wants to say, how would he get on with a I don't want to say a proper manager, that's very unfair, but with a more tactical manager, there we go.
Right, okay.
With a more tactical, how would he get on? But at the same time, I kind of go, well, maybe in 3 years we'd have seen a bit more, you know, from him. So I think he's one that I think I would like to see. You know, I don't think I would prefer us to get. You know, we've always said we really want a proper 6 leader, and I would still like us to get that.
The thing with Bissouma and Bentancur is they're both coming into the last year contract. So if we're going to make some money on them, we need to sell them now or get them to sign an extension.
It also depends what's available and who's available. I mean, you know, it's all very well getting rid of them both or one of them, but, you know, who's going to come? So I remember last summer I wanted this, and we all wanted this. And then at the end of the summer, when the transfer window closed, we asked ourselves, but what number 6 actually moved clubs this summer that we could have got? That we didn't, and there wasn't one. There wasn't any.
There was the guy that went to Juventus, Silva, I think, was the only one we looked at and said maybe.
Wasn't it Douglas Luiz?
No, that's the one. Yeah, Douglas Luiz. Yeah. Sorry, yeah.
But that, you know, what we want is a very rare, you know.
Oh yeah. No, I was saying because people are talking about Mbeumo coming, because we've been linked to bringing him in along with Nathan Collins. I mean, that seems like an awful lot of money to spend on a position we kind of have filled. Like, yeah, he scored a lot of goals last season, but so did Brennan Johnson. He got involved in moves, but so did Brennan Johnson. He was dangerous, pacey winger. Kind of, Brennan Johnson could also do that. It's spending 60 odd million on someone like that. I was like, I'd prefer if we spent that 60 million pounds on a midfielder with a chunk of steel wrapped in a silk glove is what I want. But who is that player? Very, very difficult to identify. I'm no scout.
Moussa Dembele regen.
Moussa Dembele regen. Yeah.
You know,
if we want to continue going into the young players, there's a young Finnish player who apparently is extremely good that would do well, but he's just 18, so maybe too young. Who knows?
If Frank was interested in Gray previously, what position would he envision for us? Could he actually try him as, since we're talking about we keep talking about that number 6, could he actually, I don't know, try him as a number 6, develop him as
I
our
think
number
Bay is the
6.
natural number 6. To be quite honestly,
fascinating,
very good at receiving the ball and taking it and going past players. I think he could be a number 6.
So we could actually have that player already. Actually, the way that we're all speaking, it doesn't sound like we're going to get rid of anybody. Dragishin stays, Basuma maybe stays.
No,
You know,
I think Basuma's on his way out.
All right.
Do we
And
have
then
to-
so Stu says we will try him out. So nobody's leaving. Davis is staying. So nobody's leaving. You
Do
know?
we not
No,
have to
Davis
consider
will
the
go to
injuries
Wrexham.
as well, though, that we had
Exactly.
last season?
Davis still could be going to Wrexham.
Guys, let Graeme talk. He's our guest. He's
Sorry.
come to join us this
Sorry,
evening. Graeme, what do you say?
I just going to say that maybe we have to consider the injury-prone players and whether or not we can sustain a squad place for a player who's only available for a handful of games this season. So, like Richarlison has got biscuit legs, so he's a. Can you afford to have an important position in the squad taken up by someone who's hardly available?
It breaks my heart, but Richarlison,
Yeah.
it's time for him to move on. I absolutely love him, but I think his time is past.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Brian.
And Bentancur's not played more than 1,500 minutes in a season for 3 seasons now.
Yeah.
He had 7 out with a suspension, didn't he, this time?
That's true, yeah. The other thing about Bentancur is if we're going to be concentrating on set pieces, he often seems like the most dangerous player from a set piece for us.
Yeah, he's amazing. Him and Romero.
Yeah.
And Romero, of course, is the other massive question mark.
Yeah, because the other question mark, which kind of hangs over Romero, Richarlison, and Bentancur, is Thomas Frank has a no dickheads policy. And each of those has the potential to be a bit of a dickhead at times. So maybe they could be at risk because of that.
Richarlison, a dickhead.
He stood on a ball once and really took the piss, didn't he?
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but no, that's shithousing. That's not being a dickhead. That's shithousing when he's playing for us. It's a dickhead when he's playing for the other team.
Another team.
Exactly.
Yeah. If it was a no shithousing policy, then like we'd be in real trouble because Bentancur, Richarlison, we would be struggling. I mean, we have a lot of what seems like very nice players. Do we need a little bit more edge to us? Because Gray,
Brentford are very nice team. I don't know. Every time we play against them, I feel like there's a villain. Are they a super nice team? I don't know. They have their bit of cloggers that kick the shit out of people. No guards. Been me.
No, I'm talking about Tottenham. Tottenham is a very nice team.
Yeah,
Do
but
we have a clogger in us?
We may be nice.
I mean,
Bergvagn's got a bit of an edge to him.
Yeah,
He does.
Bergvagn.
He's got a bit of lamella in him, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I think my point was that his no dickhead policy is not so strict, considering that Brentford themselves had when we played them anyway. I didn't really enjoy too many of them.
If talking about playing Brentford, one of my concerns is he played us twice last year and didn't win a single game. Played us twice the season before, and as I remember, didn't win a single game. He was yet to actually beat us in. Yeah, so considering how bad a season we had, to not take advantage of that is difficult. I think it's kind of difficult.
Although we were quite lucky to win the last game. I thought they were the better team and should have won. That also, I guess, is concerning. When you're the better team, you should win. Yeah.
The other concern is they also had a lot of muscle injuries last year. So, people saying, "Oh, well, at least we're not going to suffer the same kind of issues we did last year." We very well might, because they had more muscle injuries than we did.
Yeah, and which also links to the other little question mark about Thomas Frank, which I forgot earlier, which is European experience and juggling.
Oh, he has none.
Fixture congestion, and that's I think, Graeme, you were alluding to that. Is we also need to strengthen because Europa League. A lot of the matches were gimme matches, even though sometimes we can try to turn them into quite difficult matches. They should have been gimme matches. I don't think we're going to have that in the Champions League. So I think we're going to need stronger players in more capability of rotating without weakening the team too much next season. And I don't know how much experience Thomas Frank has of handling that kind of roster, as the Americans would say. On the one hand, in terms of motivation of the players and things like that, and also, rotation is a bit of a tricky art. Managers quite often struggle with how many changes to make, which times, and things like that. I don't think Ange got that right. I think he said it himself. He perhaps didn't rotate enough or correctly at the beginning of the season. So that's definitely something to look at.
I think there were some players in the squad that he didn't trust at the time. Like Spencer's a good example. He didn't really start playing until December, and then that was almost because he had to.
He had no choice, yeah.
No, and in the end, he would probably, for a period through January, he was probably one of the fact that he didn't get an England call up was a surprise to me, and that's how good he played.
Yeah, me too.
An outrage.
Yeah. So but of course, at the start of last season, we got rid of 11 players, either as loans or sold or left through end of contracts, and we brought 5-6 in, I think, at best, and a lot of young players. We might not have liked the Højbjergs and those kind of players. They maybe not been the most effective, but there was a lot of games last season where bringing Højbjerg on with 20 minutes to go would have made a significant difference to our season, I think.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, there's definitely some work to be done on the squad, and I think how he handles that will be really important for sure.
I think Europe's going to be a tough one because we have space in our Premier League squad that we can bring players in and fit them in, even if they're over 21, even if they're foreign, not a problem. We've got something like 5 or 6 spots. But in our European squad, we're currently 3 players over. We have to cut 3 players from that squad to say, right, okay.
We're under on homegrown as well, aren't we? We've got a problem with that.
We're massively under on homegrown.
We're going to have to bring in some homegrown.
Yeah, one over 21 homegrown player who plays list A, which is really difficult, which is why we have to drop 3 players. So at the moment, I don't think Dragoshin would join in. I think Vuskovic would also not get in there. And I suspect Ben Davies is the 3rd.
The goalkeeper might not even fit in.
No, he has to. We have to have 3 goalkeepers. You have to name 3 goalkeepers.
Austin would be one of them then, right?
Does Austin count as homegrown?
Yeah,
because when we were talking the other day, I was like, I thought he'd been at the club since he was sperm. So I thought it was last week when we were talking about it, somebody was saying he didn't count as homegrown. So I got really confused. So he does. Okay, so I'm just
Whitman's just gone at the end of his contract. One of the ones that it's the reason we had so many goalkeepers on the bench for the European games was because it was the only way we could fulfill our homegrown commitment for the squad without losing a spot. So yeah, that's a conundrum for the squad building that we need to do. And of course, Paratici can't start. If he does start, I mean, it is all still conjecture at the moment, but he's not supposed to be allowed to start until the 1st of July. I think that's when his ban officially finishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been working for the last 2 years for us. So it's just like he'll just be taking off his mask and going, "Hi, I was here all along."
If it wasn't for you pesky kids, I've been working as a technical director all of this time. The thing with Paratici is apparently he's being investigated by the Guardia in Italy for financial crimes, and there's a very good chance he's going to get charged with stuff there. So apparently,
we better get the most out of him while we can.
Everything's been pushed back. Again, he can continue working for us as a consultant, but bringing him in as a permanent long-term employee is probably not going to work out right now because there's too much doubt up in the air.
I hadn't heard
We'll
about
just
that.
fly a mobile phone in by drone to whichever prison he gets carted in and carry on doing the work.
He's got one surgically grafted in, hasn't he? He never seems to be without one.
I love the fact he's old school and doesn't have wireless. It's always the cables.
They're listening. Oh, dear me. I mean, it would be kind of great. I mean, I brought up this question earlier in the year. Could we have Paratici and Langer and just have them, right, okay, well, you concentrate on bringing in the players that will immediately improve the first team, and you, Johan Langer, you concentrate on bringing in the 17, 18-year-olds for the future because you're brilliant at that. but I do remember getting told, no, that's not going to work out, because both of the people want full control of the transfers purse strings.
So do you think, so if Baratici comes back, we lose Langer?
I hope not.
I
But
can't see
the
them
consensus of
coexisting.
opinion was that
Would
was
be
what
down.
happened.
Yeah, I have that sort of dream of them working together, but I feel like the reality
Would be a real clean sweep, won't it? Apart from at the very top, we'd have pretty much had a complete clear out at that point.
Yeah.
So a lot of talk about Scott Munn having been told he's no longer welcome at the club. I've not seen anything official, but it does seem weird that we'd bring in someone to come in and do all this work in the background and then let him go, what, 1 year later, having waited over a year for him, to almost no fanfare, no information about what he's done or what he's failed to do. It just seems strange. There's a lot of change around. I know Donna Maria Cullen leaving, a lot of people going, oh, well, she's been pushed out. Apparently that's been planned for over a year, which is why Vinod Venkatesham has come in as CEO. But it just seems strange to me that if Munn has gone, that potentially there's going to be somebody else coming in again. Who knows?
He, if the press hadn't have mentioned it, I don't think anyone would have noticed. That's how much.
No.
That's how much visibility we've had of what he's been doing. I wouldn't have even known he'd started or finished.
Wasn't there rumbling during the season that he oversaw the overhaul of the medical team last summer?
Yeah.
And that's put him on the ejector seat.
Is that the adverts on LinkedIn?
No. It was another. I don't know how reliable, and I certainly wouldn't be able to find it again. But there was, I think it was during the. No, it was after the players came back from injury. There were a number of posts saying that Munn had been responsible for an overhaul of the medical department, and that people were giving him the side eye at the club because of how shit everything went. I'm sort of paraphrasing because I think it was written by a professional journalist, not a gobby me. So, yeah, I mean, that's probably our most important signing this summer is the medical team. Don't want any more of that stuff from last season, especially after what Brentford went through also last season.
Yeah, the medical team, I don't really know what's going on there. Same as Graham saw the post on LinkedIn about jobs being available. The only post I've seen on LinkedIn is an assistant to Vinod Venkatesham. I did not apply, by the way. It's too much of a commute for me.
Oh, boy.
Austin, you sat there quiet. You got any thoughts?
Sorry, I was just looking at the cricket score. I'm watching the 2020 England versus the West Indies. I've got no clue whatsoever about the medical team, but I was thinking about people like Devine, about Dane Scarlett, about the lads that are out on loan at Orient.
Lancashire,
Dorrington.
Donnelly,
Dorrington. More importantly, the lad that was at Stoke that we got from Blackburn last year.
Ashley Phillips.
They all look like very, very good potential players. And I'm just wondering how they're going to integrate and whether we are going to integrate them into the first team or whether they'll go out on loan again.
Yeah, Graham, you need to know, but if you say the word Dorrington to Austin, it's like a red rag to a bull.
Okay.
There will be swearing and but yeah, right. I think a number of those players will just go back out on loan. I think Devine potentially is one of the players who may stick around, but only because he and Vuskovic apparently had a good friendship at Vesterlo together, and Vuskovic is likely to be kept. No, see, this is difficult. Under Ange, the plan apparently was that he would be kept around, so see how he does in pre-season. Now it could all change.
I thought he played really well in the last pre-season, and he obviously needed regular game time. So I think it's been a good season for him. But yeah, I think he's been around the squad for quite a long time, hasn't he? I think he scored when he was 16, didn't he? Against Marine?
Marine, yeah.
Yeah. So.
And he's only 20.
Yeah,
he's still only 20. He's been around for what seems like ages, and still only 20 years old.
He looks a very good player as well. He looks a complete midfield player. He reminds me of a young Steven Gerrard. I'm not comparing him with Steven Gerrard. I'm saying he reminds me of a young Steven Gerrard.
He did look pretty good in pre-season. He got some chances, but then so did Donny. But Donny was playing at left back, so difficult to see what he could do there.
But Donnelly's probably getting some good experience with Northern Ireland as well. He's got a senior call up for Northern Ireland. I think he might have played it.
Vuskovic last night as well.
Yeah,
Vuskovic played his first senior game.
Did he?
Yeah, last night.
So, Graeme, do you know why Vuskovic didn't play in the last few games for Vestador? Because I saw he hadn't featured.
I don't know. He's had a couple of red cards this season. I'm not sure if it was related to that. I think it's some spirited displays. I think we would describe it as.
I believe there were some choice words after the 90-minute whistle went in one game, which earned him the red card.
If you wanted a bit more bite in the team, he's certainly that.
Yes.
If you can
also,
imagine,
if you're going for players that are good in the air, he's got a bullet head on him, apparently.
If you can imagine what Romero must have been like as a teenager, it's probably quite similar, I would have thought.
I bet Romero's a real gobby little shite.
What's everyone's take on Romero? Do you think that he might be convinced to stay? And
I think he's gone. I think he's gone. And I think Basuma's gone.
I think they have to have a sit down with him and find out. I think it really goes down to offer him a new contract, and if he says no, sell him. Because Romero is probably arguably our best player. Not my favourite player, but arguably our best player. But I don't feel that when he's not fully committed to the cause, I'm not convinced by him. And I just think that if people are saying that he's very upset that Ange's leaving. Before Ange left, he was making Atletico Madrid type noises. And if he wants to go, if he doesn't want to be here, then I would prefer we sell him and then get somebody in. Much as I absolutely love Romero, I think he's absolutely fantastic. But I don't think he's fantastic when he's not committed.
I guess the only problem with Atletico is whether or not they're willing to stump up the kind of money that we're going to want for him.
Or whether they'll just wait a year and get them anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly. I suppose that's the
let's wait 2 years. He's got 2 years left on his contract.
Is it 2, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
But I mean, it gets... If we wait another year, then it's like, oh, well, I could wait another year. I'll be, 27 years old, prime of my career at that point, and... I can move for a very, very nice wage. Thank you very much. And I suspect when he's on a free, there would be bigger clubs in for him than Atletico Madrid. As Graeme says, I don't think Atletico have offered the kind of money that we would find acceptable right now. I mean, Daniel Levy was talking £100 million last year. I suspect that's dropped a little bit now, but I wouldn't have thought it's less than 70. Well, apparently they're offering just over half that.
When you see the kind of players that are moving around for big money deals, at the moment, that he's definitely worth 70, 80, isn't he? I'd have thought in the market. World Cup winner, Europa League winner,
and an absolute
if he's not committed to the club, I'd like to see him out of the club because he's quite a big personality.
Yeah, that's my point.
Want a big personality that didn't want to be with the club, still with the club.
Yeah, just disruptive influence in the dressing room.
I wonder if this bring Paratici back is also going to try and persuade Romero, because Paratici was the one who brought him to the club, rescued him from Juventus. Remember that?
Yeah.
Well, we have also been linked to, I think his name's Conny De Winter, who plays for Genoa, I think, who was at Juventus. He was signed by Paratici when he was at Juventus, much as Romero was signed by Paratici when he was at Juventus, and also Bentancur and Kulusevski came from Juventus. Yeah, so he does like to sign ex-players he has signed before. It's a bit of a thing with him. And those are the ones that work quite nicely.
If he's looking at Juventus, he should go get Douglas Luiz first. He's not
He'd probably do all right.
Great. Yeah, he was great at Aston Villa. Let's save him.
not had a great season at
But
Juve.
we've
Though.
got Danzo, Van de Ven, and then Phillips and Dorrington,
and
and
Vuskovic.
Vuskovic,
And
and,
Dragic.
and Dragon Man.
And Bendo.
Yeah.
Do we need someone to replace Ramiro? Because I thought Danzo looked like a real leader when he played last year. I thought he looked like an absolute giant.
I think he'll suit a Frank team more than an Ange team. I think he's a robust defender, isn't he? He's very physical, but he hasn't got. I don't think he's got the pace to. We could get in the previous way we were set up with a very high line. If you could get caught out quite easily, but actually, if we're playing slightly deeper and a bit more structured, it would probably suit him a lot.
Yeah. And in terms
again,
of captains
we've
of the
been
club,
linked to Nathan Collins from Brentford. The other thing, though, is the last few managers we've got, we've never really gone and bought players from their previous clubs. Certainly when we poached them. If you look at Pochettino, we never went and bought someone from Southampton. When we got Postecoglou, we never went and got anyone from Celtic. So do we have some kind of dealing clause? Well, no,
I'm joking.
Yeah. Maeda apparently would have been very nice, but do we have some kind of deal with these clubs? Say, look, we're taking your manager. We promise we won't try and touch your players for a couple of seasons. By which point the managers have left anyway. So,
but the difference with Brentford is that's their business model is to sell those players. So maybe they'd be more up for it if they could generate some additional revenue by selling players they were going to sell anyway.
good shout.
Yeah. So, what do we think about players like Collins and Burmel and potentially Visser as well? We've been linked to. Could we find space for them? Do you think they would improve us as a team?
I don't know what Collins is like. I've never really noticed him.
And
Mbuimo, I think we've got players that can do his job already. And Visser, again, I don't rate him particularly.
I think the starting material. Sorry, the starting material that we've got is better than that those players were when Frank got them. So I'm hoping that he can turn them into better players than them.
The only one I looked at in the Brentford side and said he could probably do all right was Norgard, who plays as one of their deeper midfielders. He's 31. I thought, bring him in. He's not going to stand in the way of someone like Berrival too much or Gray too much, and they might learn some stuff off him. And he knows how to play that kind of role in a Thomas Frank team.
So I was thinking,
Mbuimo.
Yeah,
I think Mbuimo is a very talented, intelligent player. I think we lack that in the final third. When we're in several competitions, it'd be nice to have both him and Johnson on that side.
Do we want to be spending 225 grand a week on a player though? Because that's the kind of wages he's asking apparently.
No, for that, no, I think. But if he wants to come and spend time with Frank and he trusts him, then maybe that would sway it. But I think at some point, good players are going to cost a lot of wages, and we've got to decide what we want to do. If the goal is Champions League football above anything else, as we've seen, you're going to have to play for some good players.
Yeah, I would hope that we're going to change the mix slightly this summer. Last summer, the mix was far too skewed to the youngsters. Even though I don't think we made a bad signing. They were all good signings, but we've said it over and over. We only signed one player that went into the first team at the beginning of the season, and that's just that points to a failure of a transfer window. But it was putting foundations for the future, and I think this summer I would like us to have a few more senior players coming in. Even if we keep going with the youth, I mean, let's keep building for the future. But I think only one senior player coming it's not good enough.
That's what I was thinking. Mbuimo would be good. I consider him a senior established player.
Yeah,
but he's 25 years old.
Yeah,
kind of getting best of both, isn't it? Premier League experience, done it for a couple of seasons now, not a flash in the pan. So I guess Guess we'll find out pretty soon.
He's had some
And I
good
did
seasons,
think
but
that.
last season was
that
last
Nathan
season was his
Collins is very good,
only.
actually.
You don't?
Sorry, Stu,
No,
you go ahead.
with Mbermo, he's had some good seasons, but last season was his only real standout season where he's really, I think, where he's broken more than 10 goals in the season. Keep going back to the ex-Lyon chairman. He said you never buy a player after a World Cup or a European Championships or after they've had one good season. And okay, he's had that one good season. Can he push on and do it again?
I wouldn't say that. I think like every season's been better. That's what I've been looking at. I look at the trend. So he was good without being okay. We noticed this guy, but he's not outstanding. And then he was better. And then last season he really pushed on. So it's a trajectory of 3 seasons continuous improvement. Whereas he was really inconsistent when he came in. He was 19 or 20 when he joined Brentford. So he's also come up experiencing that lower leagues toughness, that we would have maybe loaned people out to get that sort of experience. For me, I was looking at it that way. Yeah.
Is the risk though with a player like him? Is he a system player that's looked a lot better in that Brentford team because of the way they play? That's happened a lot to Chelsea, right? They've bought players for absolute premium prices who looked amazing in Brighton, for instance, and then have really looked a shadow of the player that they were. I mean, you could say the same for Bissouma even, right? He was his last season at Brighton, he was an absolute mustard, but he's been inconsistent at best for us.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say to that, Graeme, is that Brentford don't play just one way. That's what we've been saying about Frank. They play in many ways, and he always plays, even when they change up the system. And he does well. So I take your point that perhaps it's not enough of something to make a judgment on, but there is that.
And I guess if anyone's going to get a game out of him, it would be Thomas Frank.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have to also, consider African Nations Cup. We're going to lose Sa when it does come up. When we also lose
Bissouma,
Bissouma. So, those are a few things that I think we have to factor those things in. Same with the South American Copa. Is the Copa during the season? No. Off season.
Summer tournament, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, but I think if we're trying to build a squad that's going to last the season, not get injured too much, manage fatigue, and compete on all levels, and that's something we're going to have to look at.
I think the quite interesting thing is the timing of the internationals and also youth international competitions this summer. We've England playing Senegal,
and losing.
Only just
Are we losing?
Losing. I was drawing. I thought. Okay.
2-1 now.
Oh, wonderful! It's doing so well. But they're playing internationals now. So how much rest are they going to get before the new season starts? And we've got quite a number of players away on international duty right now. Normally we give our more experienced players more time. They give them an extra 3, 4, 5 days, sometimes a week. They can come back later on and, join in the pre-season as things goes on. But we'd be playing the youngsters then. But right now there's a load of youth international competitions going on, and we've got loads of youngsters away. So Mikey Moore's captaining the England under-19s, for instance. All of these players are away, so the players we would normally bring in are not going to be available to us because they have only just started their own holidays. It's going to be very tight, very difficult for pre-season, I think. And
at least
with another trip away,
we'll have a good excuse if we don't, by sort of pure bad luck, don't beat PSG in August. At least we know why. We would have beaten them, of course, if we had all our players.
Of course, yeah.
Well, aren't they in the Club World Cup? So they'll have played even more games before we play them.
Amazing.
Well, are they taking a decent team, or are they just taking their under-16s? Who knows?
It's just non-stop football, isn't it? Across the whole summer.
Football. It's ridiculous. It's too much.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, we did say that we were going to take a break ourselves and not come back, and this is our second podcast since then. So what can we do?
It's true, yeah.
Oh, dear me. literally Tottenham till I die, Tottenham till they kill me is the way it's going to go. I tell you. Oh dear. Okay, gents, let's close this out. Is there anything anybody wants to say? Any final thoughts? Anything you'd like to promote? David, you got any gigs coming up?
Well, yeah, I'm playing in Thiers on the 4th of July at the Parampina Festival, which is like a great one, and we're looking for other gigs in the same area, and then later in July in Nantes, and then after that is September. So that's it.
You'll have to let me know about the Nantes date because I'm going to be around.
Oh, I might need
July,
to pick your brains because we're going there for one gig, and when we go all that way, we want to find other gigs. So if you know anywhere that's good to play, then the downtown Murray-Legs will be in Nantes, and we're looking for gigs. Yeah,
nice.
Oh, we could have.
Do you have
we
a
could ask
link
around.
to that, David? Do you have a
Sorry?
link to that? Maybe we can put it up with the. Do you have a link to it?
Yeah, I'll send you the Bandcamp. Downtown Murray-Legs. It's run by an old punk. He doesn't put anything on Spotify. Sod that.
Okay.
So,
any final thoughts?
Yeah.
No.
I've got one.
No.
Only because
Ash?
I do like this girl, Alice Abrahams, just because she's a Man U fan, but I think second team maybe Spurs, and she gives very erudite and persuasive arguments during the season. Whatever she came up with, 3 players. I really don't know much, to be honest. I don't follow it like perhaps some of you guys, but she came up with 3 players perhaps who should come in. And the first one is if Romero is going, I think his name is Branthwaite. I think he scored against
Jared Branthwaite from Everton.
Yeah.
Right. Jared Branthwaite in the back. Her number 6 was, and I've never really looked him up. His last name is Berger. Is it Centerberger?
Sanderberger.
Sanderberger. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even know what nationality is. Branthwaite must be English. Centerberger.
Berger's Norwegian.
I think he must be American.
Would Berger beef up the defence?
Berga.
He's
Anyway,
Norwegian.
highly of him from Fulham. And then the other option, because she talked about Semenya, but also her other option, what she would like to see come in would be Eze. So I don't know enough to know if these are all good options, but I do like her take on things. So let's see.
2 of those we have been linked with in the press the last couple of weeks.
What Eze and who's the other one? Braithwaite.
Yeah, because I think Richarlison could probably be sent to Everton in the other direction. They did some money as well, though. The only thing with him is he's left-sided, so he would be a Van der Ven backup.
Well, he'll get time.
He wouldn't be a Romero. He
wouldn't
be a Romero replacement, though.
Well, no, she said he can play both sides. So there.
So can Kevin Danso.
We need this. I'm not saying don't play. We're going to have to if they're 2 of them are playing in the Premier League, they're not going to play in the Champions League in midweek. So we're going to need 4 players to play regularly.
Yeah.
So
unless we may play a 3 at some point in the season as well. So
yeah, he has played 3 in the past, hasn't he?
He's quite adaptable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying
there's an idea.
It never worked.
I like Dan. I'm not saying
catch on.
I like Dan. But we're going to need 4 guys to be able to play the combination of games that we're going to have, very competitive games we're going to have.
But she is very good at that, Alice Thingamajig. She's very good. Apart from the clickbaity titles that she puts on her videos, which I can't stand. But she's pretty smart.
She is pretty smart. Yeah.
Austin, final thoughts?
Stu tried to get in here.
I've got no final thoughts other than that's already been said. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to Frank landing, and I'm looking forward to seeing the younger players develop. And I think we'll have a very good season.
All right, and of course that leaves us on to Graeme. Graeme, where can people find you? What do you do apart from this very, very occasionally?
So thanks for having me on tonight. So I run a podcast with my co-host Glenn Cowie called Tottenham Home and Away. And the music's even the home and away theme tune because he's in Melbourne and I'm in the UK. So we met actually in Denver when he was running the Colorado Spurs supporters, when I was there on business looking to watch a match. So we decided we'd do a podcast for people who attend the matches and then people who follow internationally. So we have a lot of international guests on. So I'm off now after this to go and edit the pod we did last night, which was also an episode that we didn't think we'd be doing, but then circumstances have led us to it. So yeah, and we're on Spotify and Apple and Amazon and everywhere else that hosts good podcasts and bad ones too.
Okay, we'll put the link to the Spotify. We'll put the Spotify link in the show notes below. So please take a look at. I do listen. It is fun. You got some good guests on there. So keep going with that, and we'll keep going with us. This is episode number 154 onto 155. Next time we talk preseason. Anybody, or should we try and come back for transfers? Who knows? We'll see.
I'm around off and on almost all summer. I'm not going away till I'm going away end of September to Morocco.
Frank may come in, and then there'll be announcements alongside him coming in that might be worth it.
We get Frankie Friday back.
Frankie Fridays. Maybe he will be announced on Friday. We'll find out. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining me. We will be talking again soon, offline and again online when there's something to talk about. We promise we will not spam your inbox. Please like, subscribe, all the usual stuff. And until next time, come on, you Spurs.